Where the hell is Khamzat Chimaev? That's a question that a lot of these fans, including myself, and hopefully yourself, have been asking. And in today's video, I'm going to answer where he's been, why he's out, and I'm going to give you the real reason as to why Khamzat Chimaev has not fought since September of 2022. And this is a reason that may shock some of you, maybe some of you have heard about it, but it's a reason that I think Dana White is keeping secret. It's a reason that I don't think Dana White's talking about. It's something that he's avoiding mentioning or discussing at press conferences, and I'm going to get into that real reason in today's video. So let's get right down to it. Is Khamzat Chimaev being ducked? Is the real reason why he hasn't gotten a single fight since September 2020 because no one wants to fight him? This guy is just the big bad guy. He's the nightmare matchup. I don't believe so. I don't think anyone believes that other than his fans at this point. And I count myself a fan of him, but I'm talking about the hardcores. You know, Khamzat Chimaev, he's a great fighter and he's an even better wrestler. But at the end of the day, Khamzat Chimaev in the Gilbert Burns fight proved that he's not just this, he's not just this train that's going to keep moving forward. He's not just this powerhouse that's unstoppable. He's not this immovable, unstoppable force. That's not who he is. In the second round, at the end of the second round of Gilbert Burns' fight with Khamzat Chimaev, Gilbert Burns' coach said to him, "Now we know. He's just a man. You can beat him." After Gilbert Burns dropped Khamzat Chimaev brutally in the second round of their fight, Gilbert Burns' coach goes to him and just grabs him and yells at him, "He's just a man." Khamzat Chimaev proved in that fight that he has a lot of warrior spirit and the man is very tough, but at the end of the day, he was nearly finished by Gilbert Burns. Can you imagine what a guy with great striking, with a lot of power like Dricus du Plessis would do to him? Can you imagine what guys like Israel Adesanya would do to him if they got their hands on this man? Like, if Gilbert Burns, who's not even a big welterweight, who's not even known for finishing people on the feet, people talk about Gilbert Burns like he has this crazy power. No, he doesn't. Who is Gilbert Burns dropping all over the place with his power? Sure, he hurt Usman in the first round of their fight and then proceeded to do absolutely nothing for, like, what, 4 straight rounds until he got brutally finished. People talk about he always this nightmare matchup. He didn't do anything to, Bilal Muhammad, even before the shoulder injury. And after the shoulder injury, obviously, he can't really do much. But dude did absolutely nothing to Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal, you know what I mean? And, Gilbert Burns proved that Khamzat Chimaev can not only be beaten on the feet, he can also be beaten on the ground. And because of that Gilbert Burns fight, a lot of Khamzat Chimaev haters that just hate every Russian fighter in existence, they call him boring, they call Khabib boring, Islam boring, all these guys. A lot of them are saying he got exposed, and I don't believe he got exposed in the way people are talking about it, at least the way those people are talking about it, but I do believe Khamzat Chimaev was exposed by Gilbert Burns at UFC 273. And, he put on a great performance. He beat Gilbert Burns clearly, in my opinion. I thought the fight was very, very, very close, but I still think that it was a clear win. It was not a robbery in the slightest. People calling it a robbery are just people that hate every Russian fighter in existence. They hate every Muslim fighter in existence. Not to even bring religion into this, but, it's just a trend, And at the end of the day, Khamzat Chimaev, if you show me that you are being dropped and almost finished by Gilbert Burns, and not because Gilbert Burns set up the overhand with a punch. Khamzat Chimaev just walking into punches with Gilbert Burns. And an excuse I've seen online is, "Oh, you can't really talk about his performance because it was a war." Really? So we can't talk about any of Dustin Poirier's performances that are wars. We can't talk about a single Justin Gaethje performance that's a war because, it was a war, so he wasn't fighting at his highest level. That was Khamzat Chimaev fighting in the cage. And I'm going to take his performance at face value, and his striking didn't look that good. His grappling looked pretty good in the first round, but then he didn't really have success with his grappling. After the first round, I don't even believe he took Gilbert Burns down, and it wasn't even like he was mauling Gilbert Burns on the ground to begin with. It was very competitive everywhere the fight went. Sometimes Gilbert was winning, sometimes Khamzat was winning, and that fight kind of proved to me that Khamzat Chimaev is not an immovable object. He's not this unstoppable force. He can be beaten. He can be stopped. And against an even bigger guy in middleweight, like a guy like Jared Cannonier, who's rumored to fight him right now, I think Jared Cannonier would do bad things to him. But let's get into why Khamzat Chimaev hasn't gotten a fight. So his last fight was at UFC 279, headlined by Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz. Originally supposed to be headlined by Nate Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. This was supposed to be the end of Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz wanted out of his UFC contract, and Dana White wanted to punish him for it. So he gave Nate Diaz a fight with Khamzat Chimaev, a fight that there was absolutely no hope of Nate Diaz winning. There wasn't even a little bit of a chance Nate Diaz was going to win that fight. And this is a fight where Dana White was trying to pretend like this fight could have maybe been competitive. This is a fight where Dana White was like, oh, guys, we didn't have any other options, and Nate Diaz was the only guy that was going to take the fight. And this is Nate Diaz, who's really good, guys. I promise you, Nate Diaz has a chance. This fight would have been absolutely brutal. I don't even know if this fight would have been able to be broadcasted on live television for how brutal it would have been. We would have seen Khamzat Chimaev kill another man on live television. That's the level of brutality that would have followed this fight. And thank God, Khamzat Chimaev missed weight by 8.5 pounds, and the fight was immediately scrapped between him and Diaz. Diaz and Ferguson, last minute on 24 hours notice, is made the main event. I don't even know why these two aren't fighting. It is an absolute atrocity that Dana White put Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson on the same card and didn't have them fighting each other originally. That is an absolute atrocity and terrible matchmaking. And the only reason why Dana White made this fight to begin with was because Dana White was really pissed off at Nate Diaz for wanting out of his contract. Thank God, like I said, Khamzat Chimaev missed weight by 8.5 pounds, and in 24 hours notice, Kevin Holland versus Khamzat Chimaev was made. Khamzat Chimaev ends up brutally finishing him and submitting him in the first round, absolutely dominating him. Kevin Holland had a little bit of success in this fight, but nothing that you can really speak about, nothing that really matters at all. And Khamzat Chimaev goes MIA. He goes into witness protection, and we have not heard word from him since then. All we see is Khamzat Chimaev tweeting every month, "The wolf is hungry." I'm looking for a fight. Dana. At Dana White, give me a fight. I'm looking for it. Stuff like that. But we actually haven't seen anything from him. And Khamzat Chimaev, in my opinion, has become one of the biggest MMA keyboard warriors, up there with the likes of Terrence McKinney, up there with the likes of Julia Pena and Bilal Muhammad. He has become an absolute keyboard warrior in the year that he's been off. So let's get into why Khamzat Chimaev has not fought. We already went over whether I believe Khamzat Chimaev is being ducked by the MMA welterweight and middleweight rankings, and I already provided good reasoning as to why that's not true. And now we're going to get into the reason why I actually believe Khamzat Chimaev has not been able to book a fight since September 2022. And this is because I believe Khamzat Chimaev is unable to enter the United States for any reason. And I believe this is completely and utterly a visa issue caused by Khamzat's association with Chechen/Russian dictator and warlord Ramzan Kadyrov. Ramzan is an absolute dictator. He is known for brutally torturing, kidnapping, and killing dozens, hundreds, and thousands of people that he does not agree with or that speak out against him. Khamzat Chimaev is known for being well associated with him, whether it be through hanging out with his sons, training his sons, or hanging out with Ramzan himself. And I believe this large in part plays a role into why Khamzat Chimaev has had visa issues getting into the United States or other countries. I do not believe Khamzat Chimaev not fighting since September 2022 has anything to do with other than him not being able to enter the US or countries alike because of visa issues. I believe it is completely due to his association with Russian and Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov. I believe that he's been waiting for the Abu Dhabi card. He fought Kevin Holland at UFC 279, and the very next card was Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, headlining the UFC 280 card in Abu Dhabi. He was not able to get a fight against the top-ranked welterweight, 1 month later. I believe Khamzat Chimaev has been waiting for UFC 294 He's been waiting for the next Abu Dhabi card where he can finally get an opponent, because I believe he's only allowed to enter Middle Eastern countries at the moment, or maybe he's allowed to enter other countries where the UFC does not do events, such as Russia and things like that. But I believe he's been waiting for the UFC's return to the Middle East so that he can finally book a fight. This is my entire reasoning. So let me know whether you agree or disagree down below in the comments. Let me know, what points that you could maybe tweak on with your own personal opinions. And just leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you all in the next one.